Sensational Kids is a non-for-profit organisation set up to help children with special educational needs.
Is it bouncing?
So Sensational Kids was set up in 2007 by Karen Lee, who is our current CEO, and she had a need for a therapy service and found that it was completely lacking in Ireland. So her son was born with one ear and he travelled to LA to have a reconstruction. And when he was there, he went through a therapy intervention service and he met with occupational therapists. He went to this amazing facility in LA, and Karen he loved going there, and Karen was inspired that it was such a fun, joyful, educational place to bring her son. He wanted to go, she wanted to go, the energy was there, and she got home to Ireland and she wanted to continue the therapy service of that calibre, and she found nothing in Ireland, publicly or privately. So she went about setting up Sensational Kids to fill the void, essentially. And it had to be a place that was somewhere the child wanted to go, somewhere the parent wanted to go, and somewhere that had this fun, energetic, enthusiastic atmosphere that fulfilled the need and enabled the child to reach their full potential.
Marie also spoke about the impact that Sensational Kids has had on people's lives.
Yeah, so since 2007, we have had over 9,000 children, and we have saved families over 2 million in therapy services. Yeah. As Sensational Kids is a subsidised therapy intervention service, and we offer affordable and accessible therapies.
A big issue facing people in this industry is the demand.
Originally, it was set up as Sensational Kids in Kildare. In the last number of years, we have grown from 1 centre to 4 centres. We're now in every province in Ireland, which would have been a dream in 2007 when it was set up. So it means that we can help so many more children, and there is a need all over Ireland to fulfil this need and to provide the service for children and their families in order for the children to reach their full potential. We cater for children of all abilities. So whether it's a diagnosis, you're struggling for a diagnosis, you do not need a referral to come to Sensational Kids. A parent can just ring up and make an appointment. Or if it's something as simple as you're missing a speech sound, so you're missing an R and you need a little bit of speech language therapy to get you there.
Unfortunately, no sector was left unscathed from the COVID-19 pandemic, as social distancing measures meant therapies and education had to be restricted to online learning. This has only caused further delays to the process of having a child assessed for special needs and getting them the help they need to succeed. As life begins to get back to normal, there is optimism that children can once again engage with the world around them and continue to grow and play. While in school, the assistance for those with special needs has changed.
Originally, it was that you were assigned to, say you had a child with autism, you were assigned to that child and you helped that child, in conjunction, following the teacher's guidelines. But now the SNA for these special needs children is assigned to the school, not the child. So say child 1 is 120 minutes, an hour for the day, the school day sort of thing, or the school week or whatever. But what's happened now is these hours or these minutes have to be shared among the other children.
A report from the Economic and Social Research Institute was published by Trinity College Dublin, and it showed that 1 in 4 children in Irish primary schools have a special educational need. With the statistic being so high, one would think that a number of people have gone through life undiagnosed. So I spoke to Canadian journalist Rebecca Dingwell, who was diagnosed with autism at 28 years old.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds so trite to say, oh, I always knew I was different, but that really was the case for me. And I knew that sometimes other kids thought I was weird, and even other parents sometimes thought I was weird because just the neighborhood I grew up in, some of the parents were a little bit more vocal about even kids they didn't necessarily like, which was kind of messed up. And I also felt like even in my immediate family. I didn't really feel like I fit in that way either. So I definitely had an inkling that like something was up. I even had a theory as a kid that maybe the like world had been like invaded by aliens and I didn't know, and it was just like everybody had been replaced because I couldn't relate to people, and that was like in my young mind that was like the explanation that I'd come up with, or maybe even that like I was a different species and didn't know it. So yeah, there were definitely things like that, and I think that when I was like back as young as like I can remember, up to probably like age like 7 or 8, I think I was kind of what people would call a difficult child. I had a lot of tantrums. I dug my heels in about like really seemingly like random things. And I think that I'm like, yeah, I don't really know why I was that way, like why I was such a like bad kid. But now, knowing what I know, I look back on it and probably some of that were like traits of autism manifested. Some of them were definitely like meltdowns and were probably out of my control.
Rebecca also spoke about how she struggled to make connections with her peers when she was younger.
I remember I think, I mean, when you're super young, I think that it's a little bit easier to make friends because your friends are just like kind of there. Like I almost feel like I've worked with kids before and I almost like am amazed by like 4-year-olds and how they just kind of talk at each other. I'm like, they're not even having a conversation, but they're just around each other and it's like fine. But then, once I got into 6, 7, 8 years old, I started to notice that it was more difficult for me to make friends. And then as I got older, it was sort of like making friends and then keeping them. Because I ended up in some really, like, especially like my preteen, early teenage years, I ended up in a lot of really almost abusive like friendships. And I kind of stayed in those like groups of people because I didn't feel like anybody else would like want to have me as a friend. So I was sort of like, okay, this is my um, only option. And it was scary to kind of break away from that because the alternative was to just like be by myself, which I didn't personally mind. Like I think I would have been okay with being by myself on the playground or whatever, doing my own thing. But I mean, when you're in school, that makes you a target if if you're alone. So I think that was the fear.